So, the day prior to this second football game or soccer game that they take me to, I mend the fence with the mom. Yeah, because we just get the news that I am, or that my wife is pregnant. You know, even though she can't have kids, she's miraculously pregnant. So, the guys take me out to go celebrate. We get a march through the city. There's a gigantic crowd. People are shooting off red road flares and everything, and just the chants and oh man, the energy in the stadium's amazing. Well, we're pretty messed up, and I'm getting ready to go get refill on drinks, and I walk up the stairs, and this heavy set German guy steps in front of me, and he says, "Pass auf, Dicke," which means watch out, fat guy, you know, or whatever, something fat. Dick means fat, and at the time, I didn't know that was just a way to say, "Hey, dude, get up, you know, watch out." So I asked him again. I pulled him close and said, "Was hast du gerade gesagt? What did you just say?" And he said, "Pass auf, Dicke." And I went, whack, and just headbutt him and just shattered his nose, just bleeding. I have all my friends standing behind me, so I don't give a fuck, dude. I'm ready to go. Well, I get past and I go get my refill, and then I get a phone call. The phone call is from my wife. All of the siblings, the female siblings, are out at a concert somewhere that's not around the hometown area. So I walk to the hospital from the stadium drunk off my ass. She calls and says something happened with mom. Meet us at the hospital. So I walk to the hospital. I get there. The mom either had a brain aneurysm and fell and was suffering from brain hemorrhage from the fall, or she fell and got a brain hemorrhage and knocked the aneurysm loose. They don't know. The mom, she had chickens and geese and two goats that we would take turns feeding and stuff. And I told the brother, I told him, take care of the animals because out there's muddy. I don't want muddy to fall. Well, what did he do? Sat behind his fucking computer, smoked his weed, and his mom did the chores for him. And she fell. He found her, called the ambulance, got her to the hospital. We all meet up at the hospital. We don't know what's going on. Everybody's there. It's quiet. Nobody's talking. And me being the drunk asshole I was at the time, I was like, oh, I headbutted somebody today. You know, I tried to break the silence, maybe get a laugh or something, but it was the wrong thing to say. Wrong time. You know. Yeah, it was a horrible time. Nobody knew what was going on. And the fucked up thing, man, is in this city hospital, the person that's in charge of running the machines to take pictures of her brain to see what's going on was on leave. And he's the only one in the hospital to do it. So she pretty much laid in a hospital and just being kept alive from machines while they stick tubes in her head and drain the blood and drain the fluid, and they have to shave her head and all this. And at the time, my wife is pregnant, and they advise against her going to see her mom because of being at risk for these bacterial infections that the hospital carries. She dies. They decide to pull the plug. My wife wanted to go see the mom before they pulled the plug. I said, Joe, don't do it. You don't want to remember your mom with a pale face, a lifeless face. You don't want to do it. See her one last time alive, don't go back. She listened. So, we find a house just up and over the hill from where we were. Beautiful yard, beautiful property, about 1.5 acres. And that's when the life begins, or the rebuild of this new Addison begins. I'm still fucked up. I'm still not treated for PTSD. I'm not treated for anything that happened. I have a new chemical imbalance in my brain because of the antipsychotics I was on and for the period that I was on them. And I'm better, but I'm not. We get this house, the first child comes. And when the child was born, you know, I thought like it would be like in the movies, to where I hold my child and my life is complete and I know my path and like everything's clear. That didn't happen. Disappointed, straight up. A thing that people don't really talk about, but they notice, or the men don't talk about because men don't show emotion, is the attention was off me and it was on the baby. And I didn't like that. I didn't understand it because I didn't have an emotional attachment to this new life. I didn't carry it for fucking 10 months. It's not, it's not part of me. I know I made it, but I had no connection with my child when it first came out. And it was hard to deal with.
It's the same thing as being an only sibling, and all of a sudden you have a younger brother or sister. All the attention's off of you and on them.
Exactly. So we get the house settled. My mom flies out for the birth. The oldest, just like how she is now, a little punk, likes to play with us. We were by the gynecologist, and she thought it'd be a good idea to cut off her supply to everything by kinking the umbilical cord, which meant heart monitor fell, or the heartbeat fell. We couldn't measure anything. They were worried, and they were like, "Get to the fucking hospital now." So that's how we got our first child. And then I'm growing to be a better person because I am in a socialistic society. I am afforded the opportunity to stay at home for a full year with my family while getting 60% of my pay. So I take it because my wife makes a lot more money than I do at this factory. So she stays home for 4 months after birth and a month and a half prior to birth. Awesome time, beautiful. Me and her grew together like how we should have prior. This is now when she goes back to work. I don't know what to do with myself because I am now a dad, house mom, and pretty much care provider for something that I really don't have an emotional connection with. I'm spending more time on Facebook than anything, and luckily I was on Facebook at that time because that's how I found out about Joe Rogan Experience. I know people have their mixed emotions about Joe Rogan Experience or Joe Rogan himself, but he showed me how to be a man and live through his pain, hear his pain that he lived through, and that he was still a good father and a productive member of society, and he wasn't letting anybody hold him back. So that's who I wanted to be. So I started ingesting these podcasts, Behind the Bastards, a podcast that is mind-blowing in the sense of this guy depicts Robert Evans. He takes, we'll say, the CEO of Blackwater, the privatized military company, and he does a whole in-depth episode on why his operation is illegal, but nothing happens to him. He's the one to shine the light on a lot of this corruption in the world. So when podcasts get introduced to my life, the music falls out, and I start digesting this new form of art. Is the long conversation, the 3-hour podcast, 3.5-hour, 4-hour podcast. And with these podcasts comes one of the best ones I've ever listened to. It's called History on Fire with Daniele Bellelli, a Italian professor of history, and he has a gift with the word. He just tells these beautiful stories through with historical accuracy. Him and Dan Carlin, Hardcore History. If you want to figure out about the past, go to those two. Uh, Eye-opening, just eye-opening. So I'm learning more about my life, about the past of our country, and everything like this. So I'm starting to become a more productive person. Well, after the year's up, we get a not kindergarten, it's like preschool. Yeah, a preschool that we have to pay to take our daughter to, and it's not working out. Um, well, we do this for a while, and then we try to get the rest of the family in to help. Doesn't happen. So now we're left there standing with our dick in our hand and a child that we don't know what to do with when we're both working. So I do another year of this job, and then I stop to stay at home permanently as a stay-at-home dad because she is pregnant again. My wife is pregnant again. We're about to have her, not about, but we're having our second child, and so I just turn inwards again. You know, I'm now focusing. Now I'm learning daily, but my learning has now taken precedence over everything else. So I always have a podcast playing. If you were around me, you heard whatever I was hearing because it was always on and it was always loud. Anything to keep out of my brain. Anything. Um, Now I get done with the year at home and I stop working at this factory. I'm still lost and I don't know what to do with my life. So what do I do as I get another job? I work at this place. Uh, I won't say names, but their job is to produce industrial size
Grinder wheels.
grinder wheels. Yes, there you go. Made from all natural products like nuts and coffee and stuff like that. It's really cool. But my job was to stand behind a press for 8 hours a day, making three movements. And the three movements were filling in the material, pressing, taking the form out, putting it on a baking sheet. I did that for 8 hours a day. And nobody talked to anybody. Nobody had communication. Everybody was in their isolated little workstation. And you might have got 2 or 3 minutes in with the boss. I couldn't handle it. I was nearing suicide. I was done. I did not want to live that life. And in this factory, one of the most mind-blowing things that I fucking seen is there was this young 19, 20-year-old kid that was just happy about whatever. Just everything, his life was good. And he was excited that he got a lifetime contract at this company, standing behind a press for 8 hours a day, talking to nobody, listening to the German radio. He was excited about it, and I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand it, and I didn't want that life. If I lived that life, I would kill myself. Well, it's getting worse and worse. Now the how it is at work is now affecting my home life. My oldest daughter is at the age where we start to take the binky away. And now the second child is born, my next daughter. And without the binky comes not sleeping. Well, Papa needs his fucking sleep for work. She cries one morning, and I can't get her to stop. And it's so frustrating. It's one of those high-pitched, blood-curdling screams. And it just set off those alarms in my head where it's like blackout. Like shit was focusing in, shit was getting dark again. I was like, fuck, fuck, fuck. So upstairs in our bathroom, we have a wooden door frame, and in the middle is a pane of glass. I can't hit my child, or I can't do anything to my child, so I fucking turn to the glass and I put my fist through it. I'm not awake. I go take a piss, and then all I hear is I look down and my hand is just leaking I don't know if you can see it. Oh, there it is. On the back of my hand, it cut me from this knuckle all the way up here, and it flipped over, and all I saw was blood, or just bone and muscle and shit. And my daughter saw that, and that fucked her up, because now she's afraid of blood. So, now it's time. Hey, Addison, you have a fucking problem. It's time to get help. Now I start searching for therapists. But my only stipulation is I'll only go to a therapist if they speak English, because I don't have the skill set to say everything in German. And I get bi-weekly appointments, and I tell him my story and stuff like this, and he is shocked that the Army didn't give me the help that I needed, and I waited for 5 years to find him to get the help that I needed. And he introduces me to this thing called EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So what this thing does is it's like black magic for your brain. It makes you have to focus on these traumas. While intensely focusing on these traumas, a therapist will use hand and eye coordination or use some kind of lighting system that will rewire your brain from your emotional center to your logical center. So something's messed up when you experience trauma. All those connections just either blow out because they're in hyperdrive, or they just start going into a rat's nest. And what this EMDR does is unplugs your brain from the emotional center, from the trauma, and plugs it into the logical. So I go through this session. I have four lead-up sessions, an hour each, and then comes the day for EMDR. I'm talking about the situation of Afghanistan and the shame that I had, the shame that I felt, all those feelings that I felt. And he tells me to focus. And simply by him saying, focus on the stuff and watch my fingers. Focus on your pain and watch my fingers. 45 minutes of that, and everything was gone. Everything was gone. All negative feelings to that fucking traumatic situation disappeared.
So that was like 5 years of trauma and everything else in the world.
Self-induced trauma.
Self-induced trauma gone by some wizard.
He reprogrammed my brain. We'll put it in computer terms. Yeah. There's one important part that I forgot about working at this company, the one that I was going to kill myself at. I was at the point where I couldn't go on anymore, and I called my wife and I said, I can't do it, I'm leaving, I'll call you later. And I started driving to France. So I started driving to France, and the plan was to kill myself in Bastogne. I'm driving there, I'm in France, and a song randomly pops onto my Spotify, and it's the artist name is Liquid Assassin, and the song is called Chains of Hell. And that was the first time in my life that I felt like I wasn't alone in this fight against suicide and depression. It was the first time that it was such a weird feeling. It was such a weird, overwhelming feeling, but a calm feeling, knowing that I'm not the only one fucking going through this. That's the only reason why I'm alive. I turned around from fucking France. I parked on top of a fucking mountain by my house, and I sat there and I smoked like 12 fucking cigarettes and listened to that song on repeat for an hour. And then I came home.
Because music saves your life.
Music saved my fucking life. And that rapper alone fucking saved my life. Liquid Assassin, Chains of Hell. So, EMDR comes. With EMDR, right around the time I'm searching for therapists comes, I need to find something to do with my life. Well, I don't even know where to start because I don't understand myself. Well, how do I understand myself? Study psychology. That's how you'll figure out your problems. So I dive into this and I go through the fucking bullshit prerequisite courses, you know, the shit that doesn't mean anything. Then I start hitting these hardcore classes, these developmental psychology, generational psychology, statistical reasoning in psychology. And I'm learning so much and so fast because I'm doing all this stuff through the computer. And they are only 5-week courses, but they're intense, they're fast paced. And if you don't read and if you don't do your homework, you're fucked. Developmental psychology. I failed 2 times on purpose because I was afraid to learn about my childhood and how my childhood affected the Addison of today. The 3rd time I passed. So, where am I, Hendrix?
You're a mountaintop.
Mountaintop. So, that music saved my life. This technique, EMDR, saved my life. These artists saved my life. Joe Rogan, Kill Tony, Daniele Bellelli, Tom Segura, Ari Shafir, Dr. Drew After Dark, Christina Pajinski, The Mommies, Your Mom's House. All these podcasts are the ones that saved my life in this period because I did have a breakaway from music. And they rebuilt me. And I took these strong characteristics that I liked in each of these comedians or these historians, and I applied it to my life to build myself back up while I'm learning about myself through psychology. So, 2 years ago, right after I had my last suicidal freak out, I go to Red, and I bring him this big idea of a veteran Ren podcast, and then it goes dark again with Red. I don't know what happened. I don't know what was said wrong, but there's a 2-year break. In that 2-year break, I find him again, and we rekindle the relationship, and we push on. Let's do the fucking podcast. We have the mics. Let's talk about our pain. So we start from ground level. And I'm learning so much that so many of these light bulbs are going off in my head about how I am the way I am, why I am the way I am. And everything's becoming so clear. And I've never had such a chain reaction of events to where all these light bulbs are going off and so fast. And I'm realizing stuff so quickly that it puts me into a manic state. A scary manic state. Excited.
What a horrible place to be because of psychology.
Exactly. Psychology is telling me you need to watch the fuck out because you're tiptoeing on that crazy house line again. So I'm learning this shit about developmental psychology, and I call my parents and I tell them about this EMDR and stuff. I end up screaming at my mom and dad for hours. 4 hours was our phone call because my perceptions of stuff was fucked up, because of the shit I went through, because of how I saw the world and how I was treated in it. And my dad pretty much just bitch. I was lucky enough to have a father that was able to bitch slap all those misperceptions out of my brain and set me straight. Because I always had a hard time understanding people, and people always had a hard time understanding me. And with my dad, because he's so vague with his answers and stuff, you can take it as him being emotionless. And that's how I took it, because I didn't understand until my dad opened up to me, you know. And now I know why he is the way he is. And that just set everything right. And that's more light bulbs going off. So now I'm getting further and further pushed into manic episodes. And then we bring in another vet that we deployed with into this podcast. And he's got shit going for him. You know, he just started a new job at a hospital, just pushing through, getting shit done. And he falls out of the podcast. So now I think of a tech guy from my past that I've met up with throughout my life. Old Wayne. And he jumps back in, and that was the answer, man. He was the technological answer to my my creative venture that this has become.
You fucking dipped out for years.
I had to dip out. I had to get away. I had to find myself. I had to rebuild myself. I had to become a better person. I had to understand myself. Now, after this 4-hour fight, we start pushing this idea forward, and it's ramping up so fast. And I know what I want to do. I know what I have to sacrifice to get this message heard. And I sacrifice my mental health. After my first episode, I went into a manic, my wife calls it manic love, because it wasn't angry manic. It was excitement about all these people that I'm reconnecting with throughout my life. An artist that helped me out, you can go to her website, redrascaldesigns.com. She helped with the logo. Mady and Josh, thank you for reconnecting. Jean-Claude Van Damme, Platoon Daddy, thanks. And my cousin is the one that did the outline of the logo that you see now for our podcast. All these people from my life that I reconnected with are helping me through this venture because they understand me. They understand how I am. And that's all I wanted all along. And now comes a point where I release the first part of my story, and it puts me into a manic anxiety phase because I'm scared of how I'm going to be received or perceived through somebody else's eyes. I don't want them to mistake anything. I don't want this message to sound like a dick measuring contest. Oh, I went through this, so you got to do it too. No. We started this format to show the way it's recorded is I want people to see bullshit that happens in life, in everyday life, like being a confused, emotional little boy in a fucking emotionless world and stuff like that, and getting fucking meth prescribed to you as a kid and what it does to you. These are all psychological problems, we'll say. Yeah? It's not just trauma. It's not just trauma that fucks people up. It's everything. It's a combination of everything. If you can't if you can't look forward past your pain or past your Vergangenheit, your past, then you can't see what the future, and you're those misperceptions because of the experiences that people are in. It's hard to explain because if they perceive something different or falsely, then that opens up the door for stuff like conspiracy theories or any other lane. And the great thing about psychology, it's taught me to think scientifically. I need evidence. So whenever these people come onto this podcast and they start bringing up this stuff, I will stand my ground with logic against conspiracy theories because they are fucking dangerous to mental health. It is also dangerous to our mental health that we sit here behind fucking screens 24/7 and we create our own universes, and that these big companies, somewhere in the past, these big companies stopped making money off of selling stuff, but they're now making money to grab your attention. And with that being said, is they have kind of a recipe because they know that once you look into this box, you get a shot of dopamine, the natural feel-good drug.
Companies make money off of selling yourself. You get likes and stuff. They make money. You make a bit of change too. It's like Instagram. They got people with hundreds of millions of followers and they get likes all day long, and there's 30 grand.
Yep.
So they just keep continuing.
But with that, it's not. There's also a negative side to that. Because we are in a hyper emotional state as a country because the only way to make it to the news is to do something bad. The only thing to get recognized, the way to get stardom is to kill somebody or do something horrible. You know, whatever. Take any fucking A-list celeb that's messed up in the last year, you know? That's all they're remembered for, just like the army. You're only remembered for your last bad thing. But I now stand before you completely naked. Yeah, I have no problems with my past because I can live through them. I've lived through them. I've got through them. I'm okay mentally. I am about to be a father of 3 fucking females. I am a year away from graduating with a bachelor's of science in psychology with I'm a year away, and I have a goal to get my master's in Germany, in the German system, in German, speaking German. I will become a doctor. I have goals. I have the answers to my life. Maybe I can help you get the answers to yours. All you got to do is listen and stay in contact. Thank you for watching today, guys. I hope I didn't offend anybody. I love you all. Thank you for everybody that's been a positive influence in my life and that has stayed there for me. I love you.